All right. So, if you're seeing this on my Facebook page, now that I've got a little bit steadier of an internet and I've done some tests, we're going to try this live again. See how it goes. But I just got out of um so I got out of work and my roommate who normally works out of town on installations for certain things, I messaged him yesterday. I'm like, "Hey, do you want to go see Venom?" And he's like, "Yeah, if I'm in town." So then I got a response from him. I get off of work at 3:30, ran home, showered, saw the response. I'm like, "All right, I'm gonna go see it at 4." Halfway through Venom, he messages me. He's like, "Yeah, what's the movie at 7?" All right, I've seen it twice today. So this is the first time, not the first time for a double feature, but it is for sure the first time I've seen the same movie twice back to back.
It sounds like the equivalent of going on a roller coaster and then just staying in the car while it goes a second time.
Just hit the thing again. Let's just go. I got to go home for like an hour while he ate and we came back.
How many screens was it playing on in your theater?
Give or take. I live in a town of like 3,000 people and there's only like 5 screens.
Oh.
Like Free Guy is still playing. Which makes me happy. But yes, Free Guy is still playing in there. So it was Free Guy, Shang-Chi, Venom, Stillwater. Oh, I can't remember what the other one was. It was probably Evan Hansen. To be honest. But yeah. This Mike, go ahead.
Okay. So the plot synopsis from what little I could gather. First of all, this is a sequel to the 2018 film, obviously. Venom, Let There Be Carnage, directed by Andy Serkis. Yes, that Andy Serkis. From a screenplay written by Kelly Marcel, based on a story she wrote with star and producer Tom Hardy.
Yeah.
After finding a host body in investigative reporter Eddie Brock, the alien symbiote must face a new enemy, Carnage, the alter ego of serial killer Cletus Cassidy. So before I saw this movie, last night I rewatched the original, and as I tweeted out, like it holds up a lot.
It's really good.
Yeah, it holds up a lot more than I was expecting. Like I knew I liked the odd couple romance between Brock and Venom, but I also really like the action in that movie. I mean, I'm a little bit biased because I am a fan of Ruben Fleischer. The Zombieland movies are some of my favorite comedy films of all time.
Absolutely. Part of the reason why I think Woody's in this movie.
Oh yeah. No, yeah. Definitely. That's definitely a reason. So when was the last time that you saw the original?
Oh my goodness, probably it's been over a year at least, probably. It's not because I don't like the movie, it's just that like I've been basically seeing movies that have come out and then played games. I haven't like sat down and had a decent movie night in a while, but like I love the original Venom. The back and forth between the fact that they chose the odd couple like split personality Venom thing was just genius. And now they're having that for a rule for symbiotes now, which I love.
Yeah.
And it will be going forward because my brain got jogged of the one scene that confused the shit out of me at the end of this movie the first time around. So I don't know how I expected this movie to go, but they did some finagling with this movie in weird ways. The parts that confuse me. I love also that what's her name? Naomi Watts' character. It's Shriek.
Frances Bereson.
Shriek is a symbiote.
Yeah.
Shriek is one of the 5 symbiote like task force random jobbers that like Phage and Riot and like all that are in. So
wait, you know who else is one? Toxin.
Well, no, he's not a part of that bunch.
Oh, he's a different
Toxin didn't show up until like 2004.
Oh, okay. So you're talking about the original.
I'm talking about the Rat Pack from the start. Is what I'm talking about.
Oh, okay.
It was like it's Shriek, Lasher, Phage, and a bunch of weirdos that are whatever. I believe she was yellow and like orangish, if I'm remembering her correctly. But we'll talk about our buddy Toxin that I had to that I totally spaced out about until the second time I watched it, when I'm like, damn it, his name sounds familiar. But I just love the dancing around of horse shit that we have to do in nowadays' movies because of rights. And they did in this movie for the dumbest reasons. They don't make her a symbiote. I guess it's just to get around the way that Harrelson got his, and they wanted to have her have the powers at the start because that she was the person that was protecting Cletus. They mention that her mutation is getting worse.
Say that word again.
Mutation. They didn't call her a mutant, but they said she had a mutation. This is rights violating, avoiding bullshit at the highest degree. There's no reason that they needed to write it this way to make her have those powers beforehand. And I get it. They wanted her to have them back in 96, way before Venom got here and all this. But I'm like, you made her a mutant without calling her a mutant. And like, she's supposed to be at this place, this St. Estes for gifted youngsters. She's in there with Cletus because they're both psychos. But I'm like, you could have used any other word besides mutation.
Like even just like powers.
My powers are, yeah, exactly. How did she get them? We don't know. They never even went out of their way to be like, yeah, she just has them. We're not going to say how. She's just got a mutation. Y'all, you're barely able to use Spider-Man characters at this point. You need to calm down before you start confusing people. And we got this covered. Gets carried away with their horse shit.
Oh God, I am not looking forward to the barrage of WGTC articles.
People that don't understand, me and Mike do not like we got this covered.
No, not in the least.
It's about Grace Randolph, and then we got this covered.
and Randolph is still at the bottom.
It's just, at least Randolph like kind of knows comics a little before she went nuts, so I'll give her that. But anyway, that's a different story. So they set up this relationship between, I don't remember in comics or not. I know that Cletus had a significant other that I believe had a symbiote attached. I just don't remember if it was ever Shriek.
I don't know where I've read this before, but I'm pretty sure in the comics that Shriek and Carnage are a thing.
Okay, I know that he had like a girlfriend that had a symbiote. I just don't ever remember if it was Shriek, because you think the Clone Saga is messed up. There is, every time they needed something weird, they were like, here's a new symbiote. We don't want to come up with a new one. Here's a version of 3 of them slammed together. Anyway, so you get the movie starts out and they have this scene where they go to Sam Quentin prison. It's like we had St. Estes, then we had Ravencroft Asylum, and then we had Sam Quentin prison. And I am not the hugest fan of Metallica, but like now I can't like even hear the name Sam Quentin prison and not think of them because of that freaking music video.
Oh, oh, oh.
Yeah. But they like the amount of time that Eddie and Venom talk in this movie is off the charts compared to the last one.
Like what they did in this movie is they basically leaned into the two things that, well, really the one thing that everyone glommed onto was the odd couple dynamic between Brock and Venom.
Yep. And they kept one thing I didn't realize this until someone pointed it out. Eddie Brock never looks like he has his life together.
Nope.
There's always a moment in some superhero movie where the person before they were a hero were kind of a whatever, a schlub, and then they become a superhero and their life is fixed. I appreciate that Eddie is always, even after he got his job fixed and he gets a little bit fixed up, he still never looks like a maladjusted human being. Ever. But now, are we supposed to play it like that's the time that Eddie is seeing Cletus is the end credit scene?
I don't
or
think
he
so.
sounds like he blew it the first time and then came back again. I believe that's what it is.
Yeah, no, I think this definitely takes place after the post credit scene. For starters, his
Got a
hair is
haircut.
different.
Though the one thing people did not like from Venom,
Yeah,
was that
the clown wig,
the Party City wig that he. How did that get past anyone? Come on, he looked like Doink the Clown was a serial killer.
so ridiculous.
But yeah, he has that whole moment where he's trying to like the relationship and like I like that they brought up how obsessed modern, even like always obsessed people have been with serial killers. And one thing that I wish they would have delved in this movie a little bit more is they brought up a lot of stuff about Eddie Brock's past in this movie that is mentioned never in any of the previous movie at all. And they're like, Carnage or Cletus just like has been studying him. Like, who's the one reporter that's fucked up as much as me? Like,
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I kind of wish I wish we either knew more about Brock's past or Cletus. Maybe his past just doesn't matter, and he's just kind of clinging on to something to form some sort of like superficial relationship.
yeah. And it's like, I was very okay with the fact that this movie was only an hour and a half long, but I kind of would have been okay if it wasn't even too flat and we would have got a little bit more of that.
I mean,
Wouldn't have minded.
yeah. The thing is, though, this movie is like exactly what it needs to be.
Yeah.
And nothing more.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I get you there. And so I hope they do, like, I want to see a lot more movies with Venom and Eddie in it together, because the shenanigans they start pulling in this movie with like Venom's eidetic memory and the freaking markers. I was dying. Oh, I got this one. It's a cathedral. No!
I love how he's like ambidextrous and just like drawing all over the place.
Exactly. They're both bumbling idiots that could not survive without each other, and I love it. That's what I said before. It would be just a schlub. Like, both of them would be horrendously lost without each other.
Yeah, and they kind of prove that too when Venom is out on his own.
Oh,
he's basically auditioning like other hosts. He's like, no, too weak.
Too weak, exactly. There's just another one. Just worms into someone else. He's just got a trail of bodies going as he goes along. Hey, like, they have two pet chickens, Sonny and Cher.
Because of course that'd be their names.
Of course they would be. And I was just like, this whole movie is just bonkers. And what I love about it is that the Venom movies seem like a thing we don't get anymore. They seem like mid 2000s comic book movies.
They are in the best and worst ways.
Yes.
Like I didn't realize how nostalgic I was for the comic book movie that is not at all trying to be accurate, but still kind of gets by on understanding the character.
Yeah, because it's like all the stuff they do in here. Like, again, Shriek, they just make her a mutant, and then how Cletus gets his stuff, but it's like that whole setup where he kind of screws over the cop. Also, before we get away from it, that scene where he's talking to Venom in the bathroom with that chick sitting next to him is great. I love how there's
she's kind of looking over and be like, "What the hell are you talking?"
is he doing? Like, what? But but they have the scene where he exposes Cletus on his own, and you have the great flashback. The editing in this movie is awesome. Circus did a great job, and I hope he does the third one because
I hope there is a third one.
well, I believe there's going to be a third one. Oh, this is going to do well. The fact that they have Tom Hardy helping write these damn things and produce them, he's really invested to make sure these keep going.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
What shocks me, and it kind of scares me to go off on a small tangent, Shang-Chi does great, so they moved ahead Venom by like a month. They have not even put out a second trailer for Morbius.
Yeah, that does scare me, but I've also seen at the same time I've seen Jared Leto promoting Venom, so
The part of me is just like, hey guys,
hey, over here,
I'm still here.
Don't forget about me.
Sony might like me next. Oh, Venom does well, so my movie can make it into a theater. But yeah, he gets him and he exposes him, and then you get the second scene where he's going to be like, where he gets his mojo back, I guess we will. And then Sony wants you to remember that they make really good TVs. Mike, did you remember that they have a really good TV?
Oh yeah, I hear it's great.
God. Every time I see a Sony movie, I'm a PlayStation kid at heart. I love them. But man, I cannot go through a Columbia picture without 17 placements. Guys! People that like your products. I did not go to Venom to maybe buy a Bravia. Let's just get that out there.
I wonder if there's a website somewhere that like
that tracks product placements in movies. I bet
no, that specifically tracks Sony product placement in Sony movies.
It's like the ones at Jumanji are off the charts. Also, it's kind of bad. But anyway, you get that whole scene, and then originally in comics, I actually like how they did this here because it explains Venom's red color. Or, Carnage's red color. In comics originally, you find out that symbiotes are asexual. And that Eddie and Cletus did some time together. And when Venom comes to get Eddie, he leaves, like, I guess an egg in Cletus's cell, and it latches onto Cletus. That's how originally it happens. I don't remember if it's an egg or just like a part of himself or something, but they either had adjoining cells or they shared a cell. It's one of the two. And when he rescues Eddie, he leaves that behind. And then originally in comics, because how they explain it, symbiotes, every time they give birth, the offspring is always exponentially stronger than the thing that it gave birth to it.
Makes sense.
So in comics, actually, before I hear anybody going off in this thing about how they turned Venom into a bitch, I'm like, guess what? In comics, Venom got his ass handed to him on a silver platter by Carnage and had to go crawling to Spider-Man to help him take down Carnage. And another character we're going to talk about later, Carnage and Venom both had to fight and didn't beat. So we'll see how that goes. But anyway, so in here, he bites Eddie after bringing up the fact that his mom died in childbirth. I'm like,
yeah, that's a rational response.
And the blood of the, like, I guess mixed the Clintar blood and Eddie's becomes Carnage. Like, explains the right color, does all that, and it's good. So that's cool. And they always had red in this movie in many ways, which I appreciated. The coolest thing that they did with red at all, and I did not know they were going to do this, and I badly want Andy Serkis to make an animated movie now, because after seeing this, that animated sequence of Cletus offing his family was great.
Ooh, I think that might be some of my favorite expository flashback scenes. The way, the way Eddie and Cletus are reading the postcard or whatever.
Yep.
And the way that scene is animated is just so, it's, I don't know really how to describe that, like that sketchy art style, but
I don't know either, but
it was just so cool.
It was awesome. And when they drew Cletus, he looks exactly like one of those three kids that always hung around Jack Skellington in Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah, he does.
Kinda. I can't remember what the kid's name is, but the one that has like the spiky hair, he looked just like him. I was like, okay, that's weird, but that matches. But it's like, and I also, if I remember correctly, the pushing grandma down the stairs thing is in the comics, if I remember correctly.
Oh, you mean that's exactly how she dies?
I believe that's how she dies. Like, people correct me if I'm wrong and look it up, but I believe how his mom and his grandma, the grandma thing is standing out in my memory, that is actually what something Cletus did in the comics. Cletus was a bit of a nut bar sandwich, obviously, in comics, because he stays in Ravencroft Asylum. But yeah, they make the blood of a symbiote become him, and then it makes this new symbiote bonding with him, and it's like, oh, it's great. That's such a cool little thing to how they wanted. Yeah, and it explains why he's kind of freaked out by him at the end, but did you, how do I want to say this? Did you like the amount of infighting that was in the movie between Venom and Eddie?
Yes.
Okay.
But I say yes as a kind of sort of fan of rom-coms, in that, for better for worse, they follow all the tropes. Or
they do.
Like at least like the basic tropes of, hey, we're in this movie, we're together, but we don't like each other, so we're gonna split up. But then it's like, oh, we need each other, so one of us has to apologize, but there's a ticking clock, so we gotta kiss and make up and then do the thing.
Yeah, I forgot also, the one thing that I forgot from the first movie is that Eddie told everyone that Venom was dead. I forgot about that.
The only reason I still remember that is because probably one of the silliest line reads from the first movie is Michelle Williams saying, "I'm sorry about Venom."
Yeah. We're like the one that it was sorry. So yeah, I'm sorry about Venom. Yeah, that's okay. Like, that's also one of Stan Lee's last cameos.
Yeah, that kind of makes me sad.
Where he's talking about where he's a big fan of you two, or I can't remember exactly. He makes a comment about the both of them. And where he's just like, sorry, I got a parasite. Later, Mrs. Chen, apologize! Parasite!
What? It's a term of endearment.
It's a term of endearment. Apologize! But yeah, it's like, also like the little bit of like actually keeping Anne as a plot device around that is just like, dude, my life fell apart. And like they had to at the end of this movie make it so that there was nothing tying Eddie down. And to show that these two really can't live without each other, the scene on the bike was actually shockingly more there's a lot more emotion in this movie than I thought there was going to be.
And I think that's because both the writer and Circus really they really know how to tap into the love story of this movie,
which is just Eddie and Venom.
I know it sounds weird, but at the same time, it makes sense for the people involved.
It does, absolutely. It's just like outside of the Michelle trying to stroke Venom's ego. Eddie and Venom, or I should say Eddie and Anne, are kind of act like Venom's parents in this movie at points.
Kind of.
We'll get into that later because I don't want to skip too much of the middle chunk, but it's just like one thing I always laugh about, and this movie hit me a lot harder than I didn't tell anyone else this outside of Mike. I recently had to go to the hospital to get my ears flushed because I had like buildup and other things that like I woke up deaf one morning. Not an exaggeration. I literally woke up deaf and had to go to the ER because of work conditions, having to wear earplugs a lot and other things. Anyway, so they go into the booth and they like kill all the sound off, and then she finally talks. I went to my roommate. I'm like, that's exactly how it felt. Having the ear ringing and it's finally can hear. So it's the middle chunk of this movie is weird because almost a lot happens, but nothing happens because you're basically just setting plot details for the end scene.
Pretty much.
Like, there's a great post on Facebook that I've seen a lot, how it's like, Eddie Brock's Venom, or I should say Venom's version of Venom is too dark for for Tom Holland's Spider-Man. And then it shows freaking Venom with the freaking glow sticks and shit on him.
By the way, I love that scene. It's Venom walking in on like this it's basically Venom's coming out party.
It is. It's like no one there questions him whatsoever. They're just like, yeah, cosplay is really good nowadays. And I love how they basically redid Megamind. Thank you, one person. Thank you, random citizen. That's gonna be a meme now.
Oh, absolutely.
Like if they retire, thank you, random citizen, we're gonna go, thank you, one person. I would be so happy. But I suppose we should go over the fact Eddie and Venom break up for a little bit in this movie. Can't break up because that's pretty much what happens.
It's Venom's version of Spider-Man No More. Pretty
much. And it's like, I love how, again, Sony product placement, he only gave a shit about his TV. He was going to kill Sonny if he didn't do it. But they go away. You have the just ridiculousness of all that happening. And you finally get to have Eddie's clarity moment where he thinks he fixes everything. And I don't... the only spot of like I think Carnage looked great throughout this entire movie. There's only one spot of CGI in this movie that I think looked really wonky. And it's like when you see Venom burst out, like you see his hands and you see the face, that's all great. When Venom, like you're looking at the backside of him, and then Venom is walking into the like a commons area of the jail at first. For like that whole back shot of seeing the back end of him, it looks like they didn't finish rendering. It's kind of weird. And then
I'll have to go back and
pay attention to that scene when you're seeing him from the back walking in, and he's walking like to the left angle. And then when they turn around, everything's perfect. Like the lighting's different. It's gone. It's all good. And then it never is weird for the rest of the movie. Just that one shot looked really weird. Then again, it is a one and only shot where you are focused on Carnage's back for the entire time. But anyway, yeah, there was a rumor, before we get too far into, again, we're basically just going to zoom straight to the end of the movie. There was a rumor that was never substantiated by anybody outside of some random websites that supposedly, I can't remember if it was the Spider-Man 4 movie that almost came about or a random scene that they were supposedly going to shoot for a post-credit in something. They were shooting scenes at Ravencroft Asylum, and that Jim Carrey was going to play Carnage.
I remember the Jim Carrey Carnage rumors for something.
I don't remember what though.
I think it was just one of those kind of random fan castings.
Yeah, I was just like, do you like?
Hang on, I need to look at a picture first of Cletus Cassidy.
He looks like Woody. It's kind of nuts.
Okay, now I see it. Now I see why people wanted Carrie.
He's got the face like stretchy, like kind of stuff. And also, you want a manic, all over the place, kind of weirdo. Kind of gotta get Jim Carrey. It's like the only time Jim Carrey ever got to be like that was number 23.
Yeah.
And I don't want to talk about that movie anymore than I need to. I wrote the book myself. Ha ha ha! I hate it. I hate it. But yeah, you get to see backstory with Mulligan, and then you get to see the weirdest scene where you get Dan and Anne who get to come and help Eddie get out of prison, because again, basically you're just showing them escaping and then having a tame version of natural born killers as they're going around and like doing all their fun stuff. Carnage also randomly throwing that SUV off the bridge while they're just driving down the road was amazing. He's like, we're going to help each other out. You can do whatever you want as long as you help me get my missus. Perfect. But that scene where we get to see Anne go visit Mrs. Chen, and you get to see the Venom-eyed Mrs. Chen. Which, and the best part, and that's what I'm talking about, like when they kind of play as parents, she was just like, he said we didn't need him. He said he didn't need him. He said he was useless. It's the mom face.
Mm-hmm.
My mom is my best friend, but I was kind of a bit of a dink when I was younger, and I know the mom face. When Michelle knows that's Venom inside Miss Chen, she just walks up to the counter. You, come out now. It's basically telling them, like, mom found something broke out in the kitchen while she was gone, and she's demanding Venom comes out of his room immediately. I don't want to. just the eyes. I don't know whose creative decision it was to just put the Venom eyes on Miss Chen, but it was hilarious.
Yeah, that's an image I'm sure will be that's gonna be a meme.
It's gonna be a meme, and I'm just like, how is that face more messed up than what it would be if he was like Venomized Miss Chen? Somehow the reductionism of that scene made it 1,000 times more creepy. It's like, but I thought it was going to be more aliens. I said there wouldn't be new ones. Then you get the weird, like, I don't know if Michelle Williams wanted to be like, that was really hot when like Venom and Eddie made out the other day. I'm going to flirt with Venom to boost his confidence. is to go fight Carnage.
You know what that kind of reminded me of? The end of like that one scene in End of Evangelion where Misato is
It's like, we'll do the rest later. That was a that was a grown-up kiss. We'll do the rest when you get back, 14-year-old boy. Oh, it gets so much worse, Mike. I saw memes.
we'll get to that someday.
We'll get to that on a different video for fresh takes, but anyway, so you get cut back, and then I want to say Michelle, Anne is in the jail. And you get to see her as Lady Venom again for 2 seconds because we have to be reminded what Venom would look like if he was a tall, shapely woman.
And by the way, for those who think this was invented just for the movies, no, She-Venom is a character in the comics.
It's very much a thing. It's a random woman, and then at one point it's Matt Gargan's wife. And it's like, it's just, I'm not kidding either. And then it's Matt Gargan, who is the Venom I believe is most known for eating people, if I remember correctly. Venom's got a weird history.
Yep.
I love him. I love him more because of the fact is that whenever anyone is talking to Eddie Brock, they just call him Brock. It's the most recognizable hero comic character ever with Brock in its name. I never knew there was another one until Crossbones was on screen and they called him Brock Rumlow. I'm like, where have you been all of my 26 years of life up to that point? But yeah, and then the friend wedding. You said the best and the worst ways of why these are very much 90s movies. The on the noseness of all of the Carnage stuff.
Yeah, even down to the wedding scene where where someone has to bust in saying, "I object."
Exactly, and also he's like, a guess for all of us, a red wedding. Screen cut. I'm like, damn it! Did he get Game of Thrones in the jail? Like how? I cannot even stretch the imagination on how much of a perfect casting freaking Woody Harrelson was to be Carnage, because they just fed him the dumbest lines possible, and Harrelson just went, "All right, I can make this work." Like the wedding scene, she had to be wearing the black veil because she's not pure. And just he's massaging the cop with a tentacle behind the thing, and then he just has to stroke the thing gently, and then he's like, I can't remember exactly what he says, but he's just like, he says, "Gifts first." Sorry, Father.
Sorry, Father, continue.
Sorry, Father, continue. And they have their wedding, and of course, it gets broken up instantly because it was just going to. And I'm just like, man, they had to have this happen in a church because there's always the in a church moment with freaking Venom because there's always a bell at the top of a cathedral.
Yep.
And I was like, man, all I can picture in my head right now is Eric Foreman praying to God to kill Peter Parker. People forget that in Spider-Man 3, he literally goes to a church and prays for God to kill Peter Parker.
Wow, even I forgot about that scene.
Yeah, because the stuff drips down and then he gets turned into Venom and then it cuts out. And also, inside the church has probably the worst voice acting in a Marvel cartoon ever. You can look it up. It's something like overacting voice acting at its best when Venomized Peter Parker is chasing Shocker up the like clock tower. He's like, Shocker! But anyway, I wish that it wouldn't have got spoiled in the trailers, but the moment that like he breaks in and he's like, we're gonna fix it, and then they go into fight and immediately is like, oh shit, and then Venom reverts back to Eddie and he's like, what the hell is that? No good, we need to leave. That is a red one. Never explains what a red one is or what a red one means. But he's like, what? He's just like, we need to go. Congratulations, we are leaving. And then even Cletus and Shriek are like, oh, okay, I'm sorry. Like, he's like you too, not for long. Eddie, hello.
He's like, Eddie, focus.
Focus. Up here, buddy. I want to kill you. You need to do this. And that's what I mean about the 90s or like the mid 2000s of this. These are such mid 2000s moments that don't happen in comic book movies anymore. That only happen because it decided to make Venom and Eddie goofballs. And I love it because we never get this stuff anymore. And then it's just like, I will let you eat anyone, everyone, except for the guy in the robe. Everyone else is on the table. Deal? Deal. Time to die. That's the spirit. No, it's us. We are going to die.
But like the dialogue is stupid, but it's the good stupid.
It's the good stupid because Venom like doesn't understand, I want to say, human vernacular for the most part, outside if he loves to call people pussies. I love that because he's done it in both movies. Like
my favorite though is Eddie's like writing his report and then Venom just kind of writes dick, but it's spelled D-I-K.
Yes. He's a 2-year-old. The best part is like I doubt you would have seen this, but back in the day, Machinima had this series where they had a guy who would puppeteer a Master Chief figure and an Arbiter figure, and it was called Arby and the Chief. And anyone watching this who has seen it, the way that Venom says buddy sounds exactly how Master Chief and the Arbiter would talk to each other. And they're both voiced by Microsoft Mike and Microsoft Sam.
Oh, God.
It's awesome. You don't have to like Halo to like the series. I'm not a big fan, and I about piss myself laughing every time I watch Arbiter and the Chief. But anyway, so I do like the fact, though, that it kind of, the fact that they don't make Shriek a symbiote works because Carnage fucking hates her. And if she was a symbiote and it was one of them, it'd be different. So they made her be kind of like the catalyst to help Venom because she has built in the Clintar weakness, which is the supersonic sound.
Yep.
So they had to write her the way they liked, unless they were like, the other thing was like, if they would have made her Carnage's offspring and then like is like, nope, she heard us. She's done. And I'm like, that was about the only way they could have done it. But
wait. If Shriek is Carnage's offspring, that would make their relationship.
I know it would have made it weird. But like I just said, it seems like you had the parent flirting with their kid at one point when they were at Shins. So it is what it is. Anyway, people mentioned that this movie was a lot more pushed PG-13 violence to its limit. A lot of people get killed in this movie. And
I actually kind of forgot that this was supposed to be PG-13. Like I knew deep down it wasn't R because the first Venom made like almost $1 billion.
Mm-hmm.
And as cool as it would have been if this was rated R, like for a PG-13, they go pretty hard in this.
They do. Like, just the scene alone of Carnage, like, breaking Eddie's legs with a mallet. I was like, what PG-13? What am I watching? And, like, he strangles that freaking psychiatrist and hangs her in the freaking Ravencroft Asylum. Like, Shriek freaking Pike's mulligan on that pyre outside. It's just, they beat the shit out of each other in this movie. It's like people didn't like how they could barely make out what was happening in the first movie. I didn't have that complaint.
Me neither.
But they are very clear that they're being extremely violent with each other. And they got away with it because they're symbiotes.
Mm-hmm.
You're just stabbing goo. Which, for people that don't get, a lot of reasons why, again, some of the most violent movies you could ever watch are the Michael Bay Transformers movies. But they don't seem that way because it's just machines spewing up motor oil.
Yep. I gotta say, I bet Andy Serkis had a blast, like staging the fight scenes, because CGI is kind of right up in his wheelhouse. But specifically the way that Carnage is, he's not just Venom but a different color. He's Venom but more veiny, more he's Venom but with more like meat on his bones.
Yeah, and they also do something that made them different in the comics as well, because Venom was just like a brute that had the ability to shoot webs like him, but he was more, because he was a stockier, he's a bigger dude that like could outweigh or like outpower Spider-Man. He was known for being just jacked and muscular. In comics, the symbiotes very much matched who they were paired with. And in comics, he latches onto a serial killer, so his body forms weapons. And that's kind of like in the comics, he like literally would form hatchets and like chop people in half. Like in here, he forms a lot of pikes and like other things like that to like stab people and like use as actual like, utensils for murder, which is they did their version of in this, which I greatly appreciated. Like you said, they made them different things. They didn't just make him a red version of Venom.
And something else I like that's a kind of a huge departure from the source material is, if one of your complaints about this movie is that the relationship between Cletus and Eddie is superficial, is because that's 100% correct. They're like they intentionally made the relationship superficial, even down to the fact that like Cletus and Carnage are not symbiotic.
Nope. And which is, again, different from comics, because both of them are just like, you want to kill people? Guess what, buddy? So do I. Let's go do some damage. It's just like, and it's the point that they attempt, and again, it's kind of the reason why I wish it would have had a couple more minutes, because again, there's emotion in this movie. Outside of the knockdown, drag down brawls, and the great quips, which are like, honeymoon troubles, honeymoon over already? it's like, he has points where, like, how people make fun of Tom Hardy's Bane?
Mm-hmm.
Venom at points becomes the made fun of version of Tom Hardy's Bane.
Yeah, I hear it.
It's like, and I think and like there was a Wired autocomplete that him and Andy Serkis did recently, where Tom Hardy is fully aware of how much people made fun of Bane's voice, and he's like, and if people made fun of it anyway, and he just laughs it off. But like, they show that very much Carnage does not give a shit about Shriek whatsoever, and that he's like, I want to kill Venom. I am helping you out because I want to kill Venom, and then you and me are going to go kill people. Somehow the symbiote was more of a serial killer than this world's biggest serial killer. Because again, it was like a blonded blood and like it just made itself out of what Cletus was, which is a very cool idea. And then it's like she's just, again, because he gets pissed at her multiple times about the whole sound thing. And then like even like I wish I could have worded it a little bit differently, but like when he takes Anne up to like sacrificially eat her at the top of the spire, like even Shriek was like, this is too far. Like, we're not doing this. We're not cannibals. Like, Cletus said he's tasted blood before, but he's never said he ate anybody. And I think that's what drew the line. And he's just like, no, we're not doing this. And then just Carnage is like, I don't fucking care. just starts to strangle her. And even Cletus is like, all right, I'm not in control anymore. Like, well, I'm fucked. I love that they had to, at all points, somehow fit in Lethal Protector.
Mm-hmm.
And then it had to be just a thing Venom thought was a really cool idea. Of like, that's a really good way to do it. Because again, Venom and Eddie are goofballs. Where he's just like, that's such an 80s action movie thing. I'm like, you're correct. But it was an 80s comic book thing. Because I can almost bet.
That the third movie is going to be called Lethal Protector.
Absolutely. It's going to be called Lethal Protector.
There's no other option.
No, because there's going to be
we're gonna get to the post-credit scene in a minute, but
yeah.
Actually, you know what? Let's just be the question that takes us there. Do you think the third movie is going to take place in New York?
I think it is, and I think it's going to take place right after No Way Home.
Okay, so
honestly,
so the second question per the mid-credit scene.
Well, let's get one or two things out of there first, because something confused the shit out of me the first time I saw this movie.
Okay.
Venom is on the run. That's perfectly fine. That's all good. Venom, like a scene I want to talk about, like a showing emotion. Venom earlier in the movie tries to make Eddie Brock cry to show emotion. They literally wheel down Anne while he's getting the life stabbed out of him by Carnage, and Venom starts crying because of how much Anne means to him. That's what I was like, they're showing how much that him and Eddie care for each other. And then after he kills Carnage and eats him, you get the great moment where Cletus tries to explain more about how he was abused and he only had the one side of the story and all of that. And I'm like, that was part of what I wanted, where it was like, you had a little bit of story there and it's the serial killer trying to make up for it. I was like, okay. And then the great moment with Venom, it's like, I just wanted your friendship, Eddie. Fuck this guy.
There's your one F-bomb, kids.
That's their one F-bomb. And I'm thinking, I'm like, I have to remember, did they drop an F-bomb in the original?
I don't remember.
I don't remember.
I mean, I saw it last night, but I don't think there was an F-bomb.
But yeah, and then you get the scene where they're on the run because people are looking for Venom and then Eddie Brock by proxy. And you get the end credit scene where they're off in some Jamaican whatever. But yeah, where they're in some podunk like shanty hiding. I was so confused when that end credit scene started. I'm like, what? Are they in a movie? Like, what are they doing? And then the end credit scene starts playing, and then like Venom was going to show him some secrets of the Clintar race, I think, or something, and he admits how old he is.
I think so.
Or like he admits like that they're a hive mind, which would go back to, I believe the character's name is Null, which is like supposedly the first symbiote, but there's a lot of contention that he's not the first symbiote and he's just something else. But it's like the Clintar lineage is messed up. But anyway, he's about to expose some big secret. And then No Way Home happens?
Apparently.
Like, that's why I'm guessing we're like, by the time he gets to the US, No Way Home would have been over. But like, the implications that it literally changed the reality that Venom was in, where he wasn't in Spider. Like, the thing I'm wondering here is that there's no references to Spider-Man whatsoever. None.
Like not even like vague references to like to web slinging at all.
No. And then I'm wondering if the spell is what brings Eddie into main continuity,
It's possible.
because he's in a different room. He's in what looks like a different country at that point. Because, like, they were, what looks like on the outside was they were in the middle of looking down like a shanty, like dark, dank ass alley. And then they're out in the middle of a beach, or like a beach outside, when the freaking No Way Home bullshit happens. And then all of a sudden Spider-Man's there. I think the spell brought Venom into main continuity and he wasn't there before. I think that's how they're going to handle the fact that they never mentioned Spider-Man, because I don't know if they knew if Venom was going to be successful or not.
I have a feeling someone at Marvel knew. Maybe not to the extent that the first film was, but there were. Do you remember interviews like when the first movie came out, where Amy Pascal was like, "Yeah, so Venom takes place in like the Marvel adjacent universe," and Feige's like, "Bitch, what the fuck are you talking about?"
Or it's like Tyrese Gibson now. Morbius is totally in the MCU. It's all that. Tyrese, shut the hell up. Man, dude, every time it's just like, yeah, I think Vin Diesel's just trying to steal my spotlight. Hey, I'm in the MCU now, too. Shut up, dude. I guarantee your character probably doesn't even live through Morbius. Whoever the hell you're playing. But
I seriously don't remember Gibson in those trailers at all.
I don't think he is. I bet he is a friend of Morbius's that dies when he turns into a vampire. I can almost guarantee you Tyrese just wants to say that he's in the MCU. Remember when he was Green Lantern? Or he was trying to will that into existence? Tyrese, I love you. You're a talented guy, but you just need to calm down.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, and the worst part is, I don't think there's going to be an explanation. But some of them went, hey, how are we going to introduce Venom? And then they went, No Way Home has some bullshit in it. Because it's like, Venom doesn't come into continuity in the exact same way. Like a comic like they have space garbage that comes in, and then it latches onto someone, and then it makes its way to Eddie. The Thing is, like, obviously, it makes its way to Spider-Man first. That's how he gets the ability to sling webs and evade the spider sense of Peter, because he was a part of Peter once, so he knows how that works. But, like, they've kind of gotten around the web swinging thing, because he just shoots goo and can swing from it.
Yep.
So, give or take, the spider sense thing still might be a thing, but it's like they now think that Venom or that Spider-Man is a menace from the looks of it.
It seems that way.
Because the thing that confuses me, and I'm wondering if, like, the spell just goes completely haywire whatsoever, is because the spell is supposed to make sure that no one knows that he's Spider-Man. And the article that pops up after, I'm guessing, said spell happens is a news report that Peter Parker is Spider-Man.
So obviously that means like the spell didn't work, but doesn't work might mean like the whole universe is broken.
Yeah, like there's obviously gonna be some stuff messed up, because, again, and I hope they explain it, but I don't think they're going to, because obviously freaking Willem Dafoe, Alfred Molina, and Jamie Foxx are going to show up in this movie, people can say, oh, it might be James Franco. No, it's Willem Dafoe. I can recognize that man's cackle from 5 countries over. You're going to have alternate reality, just randomness. And then everyone's like, there's a couple of people that are speculating that when Alfred Molina says, hello, Peter, is that there's 2 different possibilities. And the trailers are lying to us as one, where he's saying Peter to Tobey Maguire and not Holland. Or 2, they get zapped over and that news report is still playing and he knows that he's Peter Parker because of the news report.
I think it's there's a 50-50 chance for either one of those.
Mm-hmm. So we're just gonna have to see how that goes, because this is a big this is a thing that is basically, from the looks of it, just only going to affect Sony movies. They just happen to borrow Doctor Strange in order to make it happen.
Oh, totally. Like,
because
I think the only reason why No Way Home is existing at all is so that there's a comic book bullshit reason why Holland is like excused from the MCU but still gets to play Spider-Man.
And also they recently admitted in an interview, which was kind of obvious, is that their end game for their Spider-Man films is a Sinister Six movie. So I don't know if just it never gets fixed at the end, or like the spell happens and then Parker is just somewhere else.
Or here's the other option. No Way Home breaks like $1 billion, and then Sony and Marvel are like, you know what? This all is like the MCU is everything. Like,
well, I tell you what, I think there might be a chance that Peter Parker continues to be a thing in the MCU. I will tell you right now, I will eat my own hat live on this stream if No Way Home makes $1 billion in today's climate. If it does, I shit you not, I will eat the hat that I am currently wearing live on this stream. In other conditions, I would see No Way Home making $1.5 billion easily. Hands down, easily.
Yeah, that's fair.
But yeah.
It'll probably make close to $1 billion, because who knows where we'll be by December.
It's gonna be the movie where people are going out. This has got the thing where it's like, if they can stroke themselves a little bit less about what's in this movie, and they keep those trailers tight knit and only show Holland, and I know it is going to be a literal impossibility for them. So much intrigue around this damn movie would build to where people would go, I'm going to go to the theater because it's like, you'd have to go to see, because people wouldn't want it ruined. There is few movies that would have as much intrigue around what could be in it than this one as of lately, because there is no guarantee outside of some very crystal clear videos that have been posted of a Sir Mr. Garfield that, according to him, are all deep fakes, that nothing is guaranteed. The only people that have openly been able to say that they're in this movie have been
the villains.
Alfred Molina and Jamie Foxx. And Jamie Foxx isn't even shown in the trailer. You just know he's in the movie because that's what started all this bullshit. Jamie Foxx went, yeah, I'm going to be in No Way Home. Of all people, like Jamie Foxx, the one person who was in the movie where it's like, I know that wasn't your fault, bro, but like killed their first attempt at a cinematic universe.
Mm-hmm.
Because, man, Itsy Bitsy Spider. I hate that song. But it's going to be weird because I can almost guarantee No Way Home's going to happen. And either at the end of that film, like, I still think, like, you're never going to see Morbius show up in an MCU movie. Like, unless Marvel buys Sony, I don't see Spider-Man fully being theirs for a while, or, like, ever, because they finally got Kevin to be like, "Okay, yes, no, yes, no." I see them continuing to have Spider-Man in their stuff, but it's probably gonna be Miles.
That's actually a fair compromise. Like I know Sony's gonna keep doing the Into the Spider-Verse animated movies, but to have Miles like replace Parker in the MCU would be um it would be par for the course for like what a lot of Phase 4 has been doing, which is like setting up the next generation of heroes.
It is.
But it lets Sony have like Peter Parker back for a while.
And Miles,
And
because they
Miles.
can have him at both times. And I'm always the person that's erring on the fact of they've kept Parker's, they've made MCU Peter Parker and Sony Peter Parker have two different mindsets when they think about things, because Sony, I love them and their gaming side, but Sony still has Amy Pascal, and there is always the possibility of something very, very stupid to happen. And Marvel to go, thanks, we got everything we needed from you. Bye-bye! have Peter Parker, because we proved we don't need him. It was cool that we had him while we did, but I guess the divorce hearing's final. It's like, there's always that possibility. So it's like, even if it makes an ass load of money, I'm kind of like, there's a very much a reason where it's like, I can guarantee you Multiverse of Madness. I don't even know if they're going to mention Spider-Man's name.
We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, there's
but
always...
that's the other thing. Raimi is directing Multiverse of Madness, so he's gonna throw some Easter eggs in there, I'm sure.
He's going to throw some in there, but I'm wondering that he's probably going to have an extremely strict set of rules. Because, like, and that's, again, we're going to find out just how okay this relationship is between them by what Raimi throws in there.
Like, I know he had a kind of miserable time directing
3.
Yeah.
Because if the rumors are true, Avi Arad and Sony just kind of went, listen, Venom's really cool, but I don't want to. You could kind of tell in the movie, too, that it was pretty much supposed to just be Sandman and a little bit of Franco Goblin. Because they had a full arc for basically just Franco and Sandman. And then Venom was just there.
Mm.
And you could kind of tell they had no idea what they wanted to do because, again, Eric Foreman, who in their right mind went, big, intimidating guy? Eric Foreman. Trust me, this guy's going to scare you. And, yeah, I almost, because it's like, the weird part is I could see Raimi is also just a good pick for this thing, period. Because Raimi likes to do weird things. And if they were just like, we wouldn't mind getting Raimi back for a Marvel movie. Outside of them making Moon Knight a movie, Multiverse of Madness, where you could have some random bullshit like Shuma Gorath show up.
Ooh.
There's not much more of a perfect fit for Sam Raimi to direct something.
If it's true that like he gets to put him in the movie, I bet he'll have a lot of fun with that.
Again, I don't know if he's going to be in there, but it's random tentacle monster, and people that have seen The Evil Dead, Raimi with a big CGI budget and Marvel money behind him is going to do some stuff. And it's like, again, Multiverse of Madness. We know what's going to partially happen in No Way Home. we have no damn idea what's going to happen in Multiverse of Madness outside of the fact that it's going to have Scarlet Witch in it.
Yep.
So there's going to be a whole lot of weirdness going on in that movie.
One more question before we go back to Venom. Do you think we'll get our first Multiverse of Madness trailer in front of No Way Home?
They've been wrapped on Multiverse of Madness for a while, haven't they?
They have.
I think it's a good possibility.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because honestly, we're going to have to wonder where and when and what Strange has been doing by the time No Way Home comes out, to where it's going to be weird what they show in a Multiverse of Madness trailer.
That's right, because we don't actually know where it takes place in continuity.
No.
Like for all we know, like Multiverse of Madness could have been originally taking place before No Way Home, and then because of COVID, they had to rewrite things.
It could be. Or it's like, I wonder if it's just going to be androgynous enough to where, I don't know. Like, again, it's going to be weird to see, because here's the thing. You have two different multiverse splits happening, and this is kind of why I think Spider-Man's going to stay with Sony, and then Marvel's going to have their version, because we have Kang and all the horseshit that happened in Loki that has nothing to do with the horseshit that happens in No Way Home. So they kind of both made their own reasons to have multiverse horseshit happen.
What if the thing that happened in No Way Home is that moment where, do you remember where Kang is like,
yeah,
he just kind of like he basically goes off script and be like, oh wait, I don't know what's happening anymore.
And where it's kind of like, and then his thing comes in, and then Kang just goes whoop, and then like they always talk about variants.
Mm-hmm.
And we had variants before the No Way Home horse shit happened. So it's like, a big part of me, because I just know that there's always a possibility of a burnt bridge. It's to be so interesting to see where the divorce papers, or the what I want to say, the what is it? What's the thing that rich people get when they get married?
Prenup.
Prenup, thank you. I'd like to see where the prenup is, where when they sign, where this marriage happened, where they're like, you get to go up to this point, and we're going to go up to this point. If you disobey, the divorce happens, and we're splitting there. I'd like to see where that happens. Because wasn't there always some kind of a thing where they're like, Marvel characters can appear in Spider-Man movies, but Spider-Man characters are not going to appear in Marvel movies? Wasn't that kind of a thing that got said at some point, or some kind of thing like that?
Kind of. It wasn't very clear, because even in like Infinity War and Endgame, we saw like Ned and some of his friends. But the relationship even still kind of felt like a one-way street. Like Sony got to bank off of, hey, we got Iron Man in Homecoming, and and all that stuff.
There's always a heavy hitter that appears in one of the Spider-Man movies that's just like, remember Doctor Strange? He's going over there. And I'm not one of those people that think that Spider-Man can't have a movie without someone. He's still very much, this is what comics are. Spider-Man has adventures with other people. If we had a comic accurate New York City, these movies couldn't happen. Because there's roughly 16,000 Marvel characters that live in New York City.
Yeah, it's a well, New York is a large city, but it's also kind of densely populated.
Like everyone from the Fantastic Four to Moon Knight and the Punisher live in New York City. Where it's like there's a joke in the Two Best Friends LP of when they play the Punisher where Pat goes, "Who would be fucking stupid enough to carjack in Marvel, New York?" You could have anyone from now I can't even think of his name. From the Human Torch to Moon Knight breaking your teeth in. Depending on what section of New York you live in. It's like, true. You've got Avengers Tower looking at the Baxter Building. It's just like... And again, you've got 4 different versions of Spider-Man, from Miles to Parker to Spider-Gwen to Venom
To Ben Reilly.
to Ben Reilly to, depending on what version of New York, you're boned. Like, you just need to move if you want crime to happen. Just it needs to go over there. But again, and then back to Venom. Venom again is kind of like again in that LP of the Best Friends where it's like they talk about how the Punisher gets introduced into Marvel Comics, where some guy named the Jackal comes up and tells Punisher, "Hey, you know who's really evil? Spider-Man." And then Punisher does no research and no recon and just trusts the Jackal on his word and then just goes and hunts him down.
So basically Eddie, like Tom Hardy's Venom is 70s Punisher.
Pretty much. Where he's just like, "Oh, that guy's a murderer. Bad guy. We go eat him. We're going to go look at what just happened. That guy's tasty." And then off he goes.
I actually kind of like that as a way to like retrofit a fully formed Venom into the Spider-Man universe.
Because how they have him set up, how the hell else were you going to have him randomly go, "That Spider-Man guy, yeah, he's not a hero. Let's go hunt him." And then all of a sudden, the first time you hear of him, he killed Mysterio, who was a hero. It's kind of like, that's part of the reason where I'm like the Daily Bugle exists in Venom. Like, the Cletus Cassidy report, like, has the Daily Bugle on it.
Yep.
And it's just like, you never had Eddie as a person that moved away from New York and then just started something in San Francisco. He was just always in San Francisco.
Actually, about that.
Or am I wrong? Or am I not remembering it?
There is a line of dialogue in the first Venom, where like I think it was Anne who said like so she mentioned something like, "You were run out of New York, and I don't want you to be run out of San Francisco."
But did they mention the Bugle specifically?
They didn't mention the Bugle.
Okay. That was another thing. Okay, that kind of like improves my thing of where they're like, "We're not going to mention Marvel shit in this Venom movie." Just in case. And now it's like, the Bugle's in it. We're gonna fully show that scene from this. And I'm like, I hope there's an explanation where they're like, Venom got bopped into this world because
magic.
Because magic. I don't know. Again, it could be anything. It could be however they're going to explain it. But it's like, this event is a very good way for them to be like, we have the Sinister Six now, and we don't have to set them up in other ways, and we can fix the horse shit that was in other movies. Where Jamie was basically like, "Yeah, I'm in this movie. You can bet your ass I'm not blue, though."
Last thing before we wrap up, I don't think No Way Home is the Sinister Six movie.
No,
it's like
absolutely not.
It's the Dawn of Justice of Sinister Six.
Oh, absolutely. I believe there's going to be, because they said it's their Spider-Man Endgame.
Yeah,
a Sinister Six movie. They're Peter Parker stuff, so it's going to be like, there's some people there, because because there's going to be some horse shit with Vulture in Morbius, because you see him that he's in there.
Yep.
So like the only like MCU thing that they have show up is that Morbius exists. And keep in mind, Morbius was supposed to, but I'm really excited to see what's in Morbius, because Morbius was supposed to have happened 4 times already. And that's so weird to me that I don't know if we're ever going to see what the original version of Morbius was supposed to be, or if they rewrite certain parts of it to fit the version that would happen after Venom.
Unless there are like some secret reshoots that like nobody knows about, I think they're just going to leave Morbius as it is.
But like I don't know if they're doing reshoots also, because again, like I mentioned, they haven't shown any new trailers.
Like I've heard literally nothing about Morbius reshoots, so I think they're just gonna show it as it is.
Well, we've heard nothing about it yet.
Fair.
I am, man, I would love to see if randomly this is all good, and then after No Way Home, they're like, so we're restructuring Morbius. And they're like, because if we're gonna do the Sinister Six, give or take, and they don't introduce this world's version of their own stuff, we would have the Vulture, Morbius. Well, Morbius is going to be kind of shown as like an anti-hero in this, I think. We'd have
they've got they got Vulture, Scorpion,
who doesn't have a suit yet, which that could change. They at least have Matt Gargan in there, and he's got the neck tattoos that are like, guys, just in case. And they also, I love how they were like, by the way, you know who the Spider-Man guy is? And I love how they are like, yeah, we're not telling you shit. Like, I'm not gonna rat him out. So he gets ratted out by Mysterio. And Mysterio's dead. Maybe? I don't know. Because he said you killed Mysterio or like something, and like, or he's hiding. Let's just put it that way. They've got Vulture, Mysterio, Electro, Doc Ock, and Goblin. Technically, you've got 5. I don't see them horseshitting Venom to be the final member of the Sinister Six.
Me neither. He's gonna be an anti-hero.
He's gonna be an anti-hero. If anything, he's gonna help Peter, because he's gonna see that Peter's not really evil after all this, and then the Sinister Six movie might happen after the 3rd Venom movie.
Maybe.
Because one thing that we didn't talk about, which we need to bring up, which I was very much confused at the end of it, was Shriek. I thought at the end of this movie is that somehow Shriek infected Mulligan.
And that's how he becomes Toxin?
No, that he was just going to be another version of Shriek. That somehow Shriek got herself into Mulligan. I thought that's what happened. And then I'm like mulling it over in my head as I'm watching this the second time. And I'm like, Mulligan. The dude died, or he was basically dying. How the hell did Shriek implant herself in him? And then I'm reading over like a couple of thoughts in my head and like old stuff, and I'm like, duh, I'm a moron. That's Toxin. Peter Mulligan is Toxin.
Yep.
In the comics, the first version he gets into is Toxin. And then I'm like, but how the hell did they get to... I'm like, oh, they're going to show some scene in the next Venom movie where all of Carnage didn't get eaten. He left part of himself up there, and that's why he wakes up and he's got the blue eyes, because Carnage left a piece of himself. They basically did how Venom makes Carnage, but they had Carnage make Toxin that way. Because it does happen the same way in comics. A chunk of Carnage latches onto Mulligan, and then he becomes a hero in Toxin. I don't know if they're going to do it that way because, again, Mulligan like basically is really hurt, and then like Toxin latches onto some street kid, and then he survives that way. But like in comics, Venom and Carnage still got their asses beat by Toxin.
And
And
also Mulligan already kind of doesn't like Venom.
no. And so it'd be kind of weird to see where originally in comics, Venom had to team up with Spider-Man to beat Carnage. If you had to have Spider-Man team up with Venom to beat Toxin, you still get the Venom Spider-Man team up, just with Carnage's offspring versus Carnage. So adaptation is still there. I think that'd be cool because, like, you had the whole monsters thing, and like seeing that stuff, it would weird to see how they make Toxin different, because he looks like a mismatch of Venom and Carnage. He's just
isn't he more like white or off-white?
No, I had to make sure that I didn't get, because there's anti-Venom as well, where like something happens, he bonds with the white blood cells and it like makes him go whatever, but like he has pure white eyes and like upper half red, bottom half black, and then like black hands. He looks like an exact mixture of Venom and Carnage.
Oh yeah, I see it now. I'm looking at a couple pictures of Toxin, and I see where they get the combination from.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of like he's gonna be different, and there's also like another off-white. Like there's there's multiple versions of the symbiotes that were created and do it. Like you want to dive down a rabbit hole, just look up symbiotes on the Marvel wiki. It's ridiculous. You thought the Clone Saga was stupid? Go have a look at that. Because after they introduced Clintar and a bunch of other things, it just went off the rails. But and then there's Mania, which is really new, and it's weird. Like it's funky. But yeah, we both really liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say so. It was a fun time. And I'm excited for more of it. I really am. I don't know how well
I'm
it's gonna
excited.
do,
I'm
but
excited to see it again. I bought tickets for the Saturday screening.
nice. Yeah, it's well worth it. It was great. Like I said, I saw it back to back and was enjoyed it both times. So there we go. And yeah, I hope it does. Again, I think they're gonna just keep plowing along despite the fact of how it does, because they're just gonna be happy with being happy at this point. You kind of have to deal with what it is. Like MGM Grand is going to eat a bullet and then a bunch even more, because they're going to have to make the world's worth of money to make up for Bond. I don't know how much they spent on this, but I think they're at least going to make enough back to where they're like, the world will be better by the time this comes around, and they're probably going to have Venom in the end credit scene of No Way Home.
Probably.
So they're going to be like, Spider-Man with Venom now? Money. Because I tell you, I don't care what that movie's about. If I get to see Tom Hardy and them interacting with Tom Holland's Spider-Man, I'm going to be happy.
It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
Exactly. It's going to be a good time. So, yeah. Any last thoughts before we head on out of here?
Go see this movie if you're feeling comfortable enough to go to a theater. Like, it's basically what I said about Shang-Chi, only to a lesser degree. This is just one of those fun times.
It is. It's schlocky, just off the walls, realizing that it's ridiculous type of 2000s comic book movie that I miss. And I'm excited to see more of it, because it's two very different styles. If you end up meshing Holland's Spider-Man with this, their movies are two very different types of movies that they've made, and seeing those two mix is going to be something else.
I can't wait to see what they come up with.
I can't either, and I hope Circus directs it because the action in this movie was much better. So I hope Circus comes back.
Same.
Because if you want a guy who understands how weird shit should move, it's Andy Circus. But yeah, Mike, where can everybody find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter at Captain K42. You can check out my quick thoughts on letterboxd.com/Coach K42. And you can find me in just all the various Facebook groups just at my name. You can check out Renegade Pop Culture on Facebook and Twitter at Ren Pop Culture. You can find us on Podchaser, listen to all of our podcasts on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. And last but not least, everything can be found at renegadepopculture.com. Need an escape? So do we.
And you can find me everywhere at Organoid Zero. I took a little bit of a break from Twitch because I've been actually honestly feeling like crap outside of when I had the headache of readjusting to noise after my cleaning. I just had some other things going on. I will be back to streaming Twitch next week because this will be going up on Friday, which will be tomorrow. So this will be up and I will be back to streaming Donkey Kong on Wednesdays for sure. And then probably Kina on Monday if we do it right. I won't be streaming on Friday because I will be gone until the next Wednesday. So, but that's all next week. You guys don't gotta worry about that. All right. We will see you guys next time.
Peace.